I just spent over 30 hours in various movie theatres over the past couple weeks for this year's Whānau Mārama New Zealand International Film Festival, and I'm gonna tell you all about it. There's some really cool stuff this year, and also some pretty strange stuff. Rather than talking about it film by film like I did last year, I'm gonna just bunch everything together into categories. There were plenty of coming-of-age stories this year, each with its own specific political or cultural stance. Really enjoyed every one that I saw. Using a more typical coming-of-age lens, I like movies and sweet as tell a pair of more wholesome stories of our characters growing up. The latter using its indigenous roots to add some weight to its context, and the former risking it all by having its protagonist be an insufferable 2000s equivalent of a Reddit edgelord. How to Have Sex might start off in a similar vein, revolving around young party culture, but its second half flips the script and shows the dark reality of what consent actually looks like, and makes for a strong, albeit depressing tale. How to Blow Up a Pipeline isn't really coming of age, but a story about a group of young people taking matters into their own hands to try and tell people the world is fucked. One of the most intense films I saw this year, and had me on the edge of my seat from start to finish. When I wasn't trying to look for my seaweed snacks I thought I dropped on the floor. Documentaries this year have been insanely well made, even prior to this festival. Many of these, such as 20 Days in Mariupol, I saw a few months ago, left such a profound impact on me. Beyond Utopia and 7 Winters in Tehran instilled that same haunting dread that one did, both featuring illegally smuggled footage from their respective countries, using their actuality footage in effective ways, paired with some B-roll sequences that make them stand apart from others of their kind. They're not for the faint-hearted. In contrast, Ennio got me more emotional than any other film at this festival, having such a profound appreciation for its titular subject and the medium of film scores in general. It was great to learn more about the impact he left on this industry. There were no overt standouts from Aotearoa this year, unlike last year with Muru being one of my favourites. That being said, the 3 films I did see all revelled in the classic Kiwi style of filmmaking. Campy, witty, a bit weird, and just a lot of fun. Loop Track had some incredibly intense moments, contrasting its more awkward comedy, and the practical effects really impressed me for such a small film. The Paragon uses the 80s synth vibe that New Zealand films tend to draw its aesthetic from, and reminded me of Mega Time Squad in presentation, while having a surprising amount of heart. And this movie was also made for like no budget whatsoever, so pretty impressive what they ended up doing. Home Kills, I feel, couldn't properly balance its dark comedy from its suspense thriller side. This might have been due to it pacing a bit weird, but overall, I did have a fun time with it. The short films this year were enjoyable, but overall not as impressive as recent entries. New Zealand's best were simple, entertaining stories, but only one of the 6 tried to do anything different. Hey Brainy Man was something. I really loved its style, but I couldn't tell you what it was about. The Māori Pacifica shorts were similar, with 2 abstract pieces I respected for their efforts but fell a little short. No pun intended. And another short that reminded me of our police PSAs. Really was just waiting for the ghost chips to show up.
Grab a chip. Want a chip? You know I can't grab your ghost chips. Go away.
Spoon! Spacehead!
There were 2 films that I've put here under comedy, even though both were a bit more than that, for better or worse. Good Boy is just that one Auntie Donna skit, with a weird concept I feel like doesn't fully justify itself being a feature. It was fine.
Oh, he loves this. Check this out. Uh-oh. What's that?
The keys, mate.
Go get him! Go get him! God, the neighbours' kids are in love with him. I tell you that much.
Found it.
Good man. Good man. Hey, you're a good man.
Sanctuary is one of my favourites from the festival this year. A single location story with a wild concept regarding a dominatrix trying to blackmail her client. While the tonal jumps were successful and everything about the production made this enjoyable, Margaret Qualley absolutely steals the show. The Indigenous movies are always the ones I look forward to the most, as an aspiring Indigenous filmmaker myself. And there was some great experimentation this year with both presentation and concept. Sorcery and The Settlers were both native Chilean films that I saw back to back, which made for this surreal meta experience at how the two could intersect with one another. The former is a slow, eerie revenge story that remains unique by using its tone and mystical concept to keep me intrigued. The Settlers is by far my favourite movie at this festival. It stands above other westerns by taking its time to explore the colonial context of westerns as a genre, and it just looks gorgeous. Mamiwata is a Nigerian black and white film that is stunning in how it uses its aesthetic to paint a stark depiction of colonial Nigeria. While the story and characters are interesting, I feel like the film doesn't dive into its traditional versus modern idea as deep as it could have. I was really excited for The New Boy, loving Warwick's other work, but felt like this dragged on far too long, and its concepts too ambiguous to provide anything long lasting. That being said, this movie is shot beautifully, and the performances from the cast were worth the watch, especially Cate Blanchett. With John Wick and Mission Impossible providing some almost unbeatable contemporary action, I was intrigued to see what would come out of these smaller movies. And I'm happy to say, I wasn't disappointed. John Wick, set in Finland during World War II, Sisu is a crazy gore fest that knows exactly what it is. Some horrifyingly creative ways to kill people, and it just ramps up every minute. Loved it. The only animated thing I saw, Mars Express managed to sit above the other sci-fi of its kind, using its medium to tell a story in a way you couldn't in live action. A beautiful aesthetic, and some really funny moments that offset the rather dark yet hopeful ideas this movie plays around with. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Kind of a short one, so see you next time. Cheers.